Could you imagine Stellar or Ripple having one of their projects backed by a government? What if I told you a government official out there said, hey, private options are way better than government options and they should be backed by the government? Well, let's go screen and explore the news. And as always, any article you see in this video will be linked in the description below. Be ready, Stellar and Ripple fans, because I've got something for you. Privately issued digital currencies likely better. This is coming from the Australian Central Bank chief. I'm going to read a couple quotes of his, and then I'm going to tie this into something that will surprise you all. He says, if these tokens are going to be used widely by the community, they're going to need to be backed by the state or regulated just as we regulate bank deposits. This came from Reserve Bank of Australia Governor Philip Lowe speaking in a panel discussion of central bankers at the G20, everyone. He goes on to say this: I tend to think that the private solution is going to be better. If we can get the regulatory arrangements right, because the private sector is better. Hold on, I'll say that a little bit louder. Because the private sector is better than the central bank at innovating and designing features for these tokens, and they are likely to be very significant costs for the central bank to set it up. So essentially what he's saying is private companies would be better than central banks, and it would save them money if they were to utilize private company technology versus central banks. Now, what could this gentleman be talking about? Well, let's take a look here, everyone. Oh my gosh. Novatti to launch AUD stablecoin leveraging the Stellar blockchain. Novatti Group, a leading fintech enabling business to pay and be paid, announced this week they are launching the Australian dollar-based stablecoin. Oh yes, and so a government out there would totally be involved with the regulations of a stablecoin. And now this government is also saying, hey, wait a minute, private companies would be the ones to issue a CBDC. Do you think the two are talking to each other? Well, let's go to a clip here really quick.
Now, Novatti has recently announced 2 deals around your stablecoin services. Talk us through it.
We've been able to announce partnerships with both Stellar and Ripple, 2 of the major.
Yes, Stellar and Ripple. CBDC projects. Ripple and Stellar partners with Novatti for a new stablecoin deal. Now, what's interesting about this whole thing is as they develop this, it is interesting to see that you are now having government officials from Australia saying, hey, you know what? Rather than us issue a stablecoin, we should rely on the private sector. This is after 1.5 months where this program here was announced. Yes, it has been 6 weeks since this program was announced about the stablecoin, and now we have a top Australian banking official saying, gosh, you know what? Private sector is the way to go, not through the central bank themselves. See, there's a collaborative and learning effort that's going on here, right? So you've got Stellar and Ripple both working with Novatti Group to make a stablecoin. Now, to make that stablecoin, they're going to need to talk to the Australian government about proper regulations, backing, financing, all that kind of stuff, right? So now the Australian government, 6 weeks later, says, hey, you know what? We've learned that private companies are the way to go with CBDCs. Gosh, and I wonder what private companies they would use. Probably ones that they've already been working with, everyone. Yes, this is why it is so important to study all of these relationships. So even though we're seeing them work with the AUDC, right, the Australian dollar coin, it is imperative to see this relationship bloom even further and big enough to where someone is saying at the G20, hey, private's the way to go, guys. Private's the way to go. And we all know that governments aren't efficient, but what's important here is to see a government official saying that the private sector just needs more regulations and should be backed by the government or the state.